In any business, even in B2B, we are delivering an experience. Hi, I'm Cory Davison. I am the founder of 4Experience and the author of the 4X Method. I created the 4X Method out of my own experience in living in different silos, which serves me as a platform to conduct my research and understand that each one of their silos wants to service the customer, but everyone is doing it differently. So that is why I created the 4X Method, to help you bridge those silos, the customer, the employee, the brand, and the product experience, so you can deliver a cohesive experience and grow your company.
The 4X method is exactly what she lives and breathes, and that's what she's written about in the book. And it's really great to see it come together to eliminate, silos in an organization, work with teams to become aligned and really aligned around all the 4 key pieces in the 4X method.
One of the things I really enjoy about Cory is how focused she is on creating amazing experiences, whether that's through technology introduction or just simply through organizational development, and the ability for teams to come together in new ways and break down those silos that go in between teams. And her method is excellent at being able to connect those together.
I highly recommend this book to anyone in leadership roles who's trying to align teams. Whether you're product manager, design leader, or marketing director, any C-suite executive. I love Cory's energy. She brings it to everything that she does. She always knows to keep the customer front and center, and she just brings this energy to every room she's in that brings people together and lets us have fun while we work.
No company that couldn't benefit from taking on this entire way of thinking, right? When you blend your product, your customer, your employee, and your brand and build an entire experience around it, who couldn't benefit from that?
To learn more about how to bring the 4X Method into your organization, go to the4xmethod.com, and I can support you in the implementation of the 4X Method. It's time to bring the human back to the center of your business. And the 4X Method is your experience equation to do exactly that, to bridge the human experience and your technology to work and grow your company.
Congratulations to Cory. Cory!
Thank you.
There we go. Welcome. Hello, everybody. We are so excited. I see you watching. I see you live on YouTube. I see you live on LinkedIn. I see you. Congratulations for making it to the summit. You did it! All of the emails and the messages and the social media lives, we made it. Whether you're sitting in front of your desk, whether you're sneaking and supposed to be at lunch, welcome. We're super excited to have you here today. Over the next 4 days, we are going to have such an immersive event. I am so excited. My name is Denise. I am your energy curator for this session and this summit, really coming to help you bring the energy, change your mindset, and make sure that you open up and are ready to receive. Y'all, when I tell you the preparation that has gone into this event and me being able to speak with the speakers, actually get into their minds, and our host, our dynamic host. I'm going to introduce everybody in a minute, but I'm so excited because I got a backstage pass to actually see and talk to everyone and really get into their minds, y'all. This is going to be so good. So what I'd like to do is just really open you up, really get your minds right, really set the tone. I want you to first ask yourselves, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Why did I sign up for this? Right? And I'm going to go deeper. It's going to go deeper with the speakers and all of that. But I want to make sure that you are set and ready to go. I see you chatting. I see you waving. Hey. Hello, everybody. And again, welcome to the 4Experience AI Leadership Summit 2025, hosted by the awesome and amazing Cory Davison. Again, if you're just joining, my name is Denise. I'm your energy curator. Over the next couple of days, you're not going to be able to get rid of me because we're going to walk this journey together. We're going to open our minds. We're going to think differently about AI, and we're going to embrace this. So listen, I don't want to belabor this. I could sit and talk to all of you all day long, but really what I want to do is really tap into what we are going to be doing over the next couple of days. Couple of housekeeping rules. Show up. Show up for yourself, y'all. Show up for yourself. Make sure you tell your boss, your manager, if you're your own CEO, give yourself some time so that you can tap into this. It's going to be amazing, right? Couple of housekeeping things. It's not too late. If you are ready and you know you need that next level, if you are excited about what is to come, want to learn more, and want to be able to ask your questions directly to the Cory Davison, now is the time for you to level up. Just use your cell phone, click the QR code, check your emails, check all of the links that we've been sending out to you. But there's an opportunity for you to still level up to VIP so you can have the exclusive. I don't know about y'all, but I love exclusive experiences where I get to just be all about me. You know, I'm a little diva, kind of, sort of, right? I like it to be all about me. And so that is what the VIP experience is going to give you. The other thing, if you have questions, we are in this StreamYard and LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live and all of the things. There's no way that we'll be able to get to every single individual question. So we've created an experience and an opportunity for you to submit your questions using this. You'll see this a couple of times throughout the day, throughout the sessions, and then also with the follow-up emails. I'll make sure I have this out there for you to be able to ask your questions. So now, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready and excited? What I want you to do, really, really quickly, I want you to grab your pen and paper because this is going to be something that you want to make sure you take notes on. These next couple of days, as we open the minds of these AI strategists and really dig deep, I want you to grab your pen and paper because you're about to spend the next 4 days with 5 brilliant, and I do mean brilliant minds, leading the way in human-centric AI. Kicking things off will be our host, y'all. I'm so excited. I can't stop smiling when I talk about her. Is our host and founder of the 4 Experience, Cory Davison, MIT certified AI strategist and creator of the 4X method. I'm so excited because Cory is going to show us how to design AI as a human experience. Stop it. Are you ready for that? Cory is going to show us how to design AI as a human experience, not just the technical one, not just the enter your prompt here. None of that. And then we'll have Margaret Glover. Oh my gosh, she is a hoot. Margaret Glover, who is the founder of Product Better, will guide you through how to interact with AI and design products that truly work with people. Are y'all getting that theme yet? Are y'all getting that theme that this is all about human AI, human interaction? Tomorrow, I don't want to give too much, but tomorrow, don't miss day 2 because we're going to be featuring Nelson Almanzar, expert in user experience, AI strategy, and cybersecurity. What? This is going to be so good. And we have Peter Hartle, who is actually going to be doing this crazy dynamic discussion with our host, Cory Davison, and he's going to be talking about business, transformational leadership, all of the things, and who you will share that with when you are in every C-suite level, whoever it is that you're talking to, and how to adopt AI across the enterprise, y'all. Stop. This is no summit like you've ever attended. This is why you got to be here every single day. And then there's more. You thought I was done. But there's more. From Buenos Aires, we have Vanessa Cilio, CTO of Shifta and former director of software engineering at Salesforce, who will also be able to tap in and share how to build scalable there's that word again, human-aligned AI strategies. And then finally, I mentioned it before, but on Friday, VIP and Platinum guests will be able to join the Cory Davison for an interactive workshop to create your very, very own AI action plan for your career and business. Y'all, if y'all can't see the excitement or feel the excitement, I don't know what you're sleeping on. This is going to be 5 minds, 4 days, 1 mission to make AI real, practical, and human. I need to see it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Are you ready? Are you excited to do this? Are you excited for what this is about to be? I need to see it. I need to see it. Before I bring our first guest speaker up, who is the host of this show, I would love, love, love to see that you are ready. Okay, I see the chat going. I see it. I see it. I see it. Okay. I'm just as excited, y'all. But we are about to kick this game off with our very, very first host, first speaker of the summit, Cory Davison. So excited. Cory Davison is a keynote speaker, best-selling author, and founder of 4Experience, where she created the 4X method. This is a framework that breaks silos and puts the customer at the center of growth. An MIT certified AI strategist and experienced researcher, Cory understands both the complexity of data and the human side of adaptation. Cory has led transformational shifts in how organizations design customer and employee experiences. Our girl Cory has also worked with companies such as Toyota, Shopify, Smart Technologies, Tech Resources, and so many more, helping leaders align teams and strategies to turn digital innovation into real adoption and impact. I'm so excited, y'all. Cory is known for authentically elevating the energy in the room. If you are excited to get some energy, you better watch out and get ready, because Cory will bring the energy. She brings that energy in the room and empowers teams to see their role in the customer experience. When we speak and when Cory shares, y'all get ready, because you are guaranteed to leave with clarity, energy, and the confidence to take action. Without further ado, I would love, love, love to bring to the stage the awesome and amazing Cory Davison. Hey, Cory, come on up. Come on up. There you go, Cory. Come on up.
Hello. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for that energy. Don't we love Denise already? Don't we love what we have created for you? This is not your traditional, boring live stream energy. Give it up. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Cory, they're all yours. They are fired up and ready to go. Cheers. Over to you.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Cannot be more excited. We are here. You are here. Wherever you might be listening to the replay or later on. I want to connect with you and say welcome and congratulations. You're taking time to elevate your career, your business. This is going to be a time that we're going to spend together, and I'm going to make it worth your while. And I am really excited here because, as you know, everything that we're going to be talking about, with all of the speakers this week as well, is all about taking it to another level, because we are not talking about a trend. This is a turning point, and you are a part of it. I created the 4X AI Leadership Summit because there's a lot of noise out there. I don't know if well-intentioned, but it's bombarded. It can be overwhelming. And if you're not in it, it can become overwhelming. And again, there's this pressure for leaders to go AI, for employees to go AI. But what does this mean to you? That's what this leadership summit is about. And between the hype and the fear, many people don't know what to do with it. So that's why I thought this is not a mission I can accomplish on my own. So I brought together 5 minds, and these are people who I admire, who I've worked with before, who I know are going to deliver you a lot of value. And we all come from different industries and backgrounds, but together, what we share is one goal: to make AI real, practical, ethical, and human. So you're going to see a holistic picture of it. The summit is for you. Yes, everyone is invited. The non-technical leaders and the technical leaders, the future leaders, and those who manage teams, those who may not code, but you're all a part of shaping how AI is used. And yes, I'm looking at you, human resources and entrepreneurs and business owners and anyone who's just kind of like, not me, not my thing. Absolutely, you're in, right? And then because when you have confidence in AI, it starts with understanding it, right? And so we're going to go, and today my goal is that you leave feeling grounded in what AI is and curious about what it means for your role and ready to guide your teams through what's next. All right, let's dive in. My session is about how humans and AI get along. Let me just share here with you. And I promise you, this is just a guided conversation. We're going to go through some, one second here. I'm just going to share my screen. You know how this goes. But one of the things is, just for those who are more visual, I wanted to share a bit of just some guided conversation. Now, we're going to level set first. And one of the things I wanted to do is start by sharing, for those who don't know me, a bit about myself, because we're going to be tagging along a lot here in this throughout the rest of this week. So I wanted to start with a little bit of my background. So I started in the research world, in the market research world. I've had 3 consulting companies over the past, more than 2 decades. Don't want to age myself, but yeah, I've been there long. And so I started, in identifying, first that how research actually turned into decisions. And that's when I, started on the client side and then went in like, oh, there's a gap here. We can do, that's where I started my first company and kind of going like, how do you actually elevate how decisions are made and not just turning in reports of research reports. And so this has been a gradual evolution. And in between, I've worked with different companies between these consulting companies. Now, my newly founded, well, not newly, but established since 2018, is For Experience, and is focused really on this 4X method. And if you haven't seen it yet, I also published this book on the 4X method, which is available to you to learn more about it. Today, I'm just going to give you like a very good touch on it so you can understand what this means to you and in the AI economy as well. So what happens is that as a result of all of this experience, being and working with numerous organizations, both in North America and internationally, and throughout period of time, over the years, it helped me. When I reflect on it, it helped me as my research foundation. And being a researcher myself, I paid attention, and it gave me some insights as we're looking at how technology implementations impact organizations, how organizations go about it, how people can be resistant to change. We're talking about change management, all of these things, how they all come together. So you're looking at these things like almost like if there were a movie, right? You start reflecting on it and go like, what are the patterns? And my realization was that throughout the years is like all organizations, it doesn't matter the size, the industry, they all have 2 things in common. They all involve humans. Even the B2B. Yes, my friends in the energy sector. Yes, my friends in the utilities. Yes, my friends, in any sector that you think you never see a human, everything involves a human. I'm talking about employees, shareholders, customers, consumers. You get it, right? And the second thing that is common is that they all produce data, right? So these are 2 things. And as a result, I also started looking at how data is managed. And I know data personally. Let me share with you a little bit of this background with data. So I know data personally because when I first started in the market research world, you actually went out in the field and you actually collected information human to human. You were actually supervising teams collecting this information. You were then vetting the information. There was a lot of people connection. now, and through the decades, now we do online surveys, we do online connection. So we might have missed a little bit of that human insight that comes, that is more of a perceptive, right? More of the underlying currents. And my qualitative researchers love this, right? Because it's the things that you don't put into words, it's the things that you sense. And that is data as well. That gives you data. And so what's my point? We might be looking at numbers, letters, we might be looking at data from different standpoints. Data, we love it, but it's not an Excel sheet. It's not a statistic or a chart. Data is about people. Why? Because it is produced by people. It is analyzed by people. It affects people's decisions, right? Like ultimately, if you treat it well, right? If you are actually looking at your data in the right lens, it has power. And what it took weeks before, this was one of my original teams, and here we're preparing for field work. We're analyzing what took before a meticulous process of writing a survey, of preparing the teams, collecting that data. We actually would code it manually and then do data entry. And I remember having my old Mac computers, right? It's kind of like, coding. And so I've done it all. Like I've seen the whole trajectory, right? But this gave me this huge insight, right? That is like, now we can do this in a split of a second. Wow. What does it mean, right? What does it mean to that team that I had before? What does that mean to all those teams that exist right now? And what does it mean also as an opportunity? For me, the key word is elevation, right? It's not a cease. It's more about how do you elevate? And the key thing is, what do humans bring is the companies that will succeed in how you manage these two variables of like the human and the data are the ones who can better understand and design, understand the emotions, understand that business involves emotions. Yes, even in B2B, right? So it's all emotions. Decisions are based on emotions. And that is part of the data as well. And the second component of it is harness the data. Let me pause here. Let me ask you, for example, when you reflect about yourself, your particular department or your company, how well do you understand how your data flows? And we'll define data. Data is not just about numbers and letters, right? It's really, and we'll dive in this a little bit later too, but it's like everything you produce, communications, right? Verbal communications, all these things, but how well are you harnessing? And by harnessing, I mean, not just like storing it, not just creating workflows. How well are you understanding what the data can do for you? Let's start with that. My observation has been that not many companies are paying attention to it, and we need to. So I saw the shift. I actually saw this shift while I was working with a wonderful tech company. I know that many of my former colleagues are watching here, but I was so fortunate and blessed to be with this in this position that gave me a vantage point. I worked in a company for 7 years in the tech world, and I had, because I was in the strategy team, I was also being able to look at different areas. And one of them was the actual research and development team. And that's when I first, it was like 2017, and I asked them, what is this thing about machine learning and AI? And they gave me the two examples. It's like, what you see on Amazon, that when you get the cart recommendation. Oh, okay. So I was hearing this, but then all of a sudden it's like, boom, and you're working through this, almost for a decade and analyzing it. So it wasn't new to me. But then I said, I need to understand and I need to prepare for it. So I took an MIT certification that was for months and very interactive. And so some of the people that I met, through this internationally, are now also part of the summit. But my whole point here is that when there's a shift, it is super important that you're not just an observer. It's important that you define how are you going to understand it and elevate it, because that removes any barriers in regards to adoption, right? But also you're not going to be caught by surprise. And that's why you're here. Let me ask you again, why are you here, right? So I want you to take a moment and reflect. What is your why? My why was really to be able to understand it so well that I can help my customers navigate the strategy and the implementation and keep AI human, connect the data to the human. That was my why. That's why I'm here. Why are you here? Think about it. Now, you might be in various, there's this spectrum of how comfortable are you with AI. So I want to talk to everyone in the spectrum. So we will dive in. Yes, for those who are kind of like, hey, Cory, I'm like deep into the AI. We will be talking about this. But I also want to level set. There is this term that I've heard, when I talk to different individuals, they talk about AI and they use the term they. So I asked the AI and they said this, this, and that, right? So I asked, the blank, like the GPT, which, by the way, GPT is the generative pre-trained transformer. That is the foundation of, like, you have to train the data, right? We'll go into nerding there, but it's basically who's they? And I asked him who's they, because I wonder, it's like, are you talking about the organizations, that invest in this, the research companies, like, the foundational companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, you name them, right? They're all going like racing for this. However, I want you to reflect on this. AI is not they. It's not something external to us. It actually is a collective. It's us. Why? We're the ones creating the data. Your social media, what we put in there, everything has been generated by really sweeping all of the data that we know, everything we consume in the internet, our habits, our behaviors. And I'm not just talking about text, I'm also talking about video. And we will have, we'll have more sessions here about how to understand the guardrails with it. But the one thing is that being conscious and very ethical consumers is also, and creators of data, is what's going to generate and help us, eliminate things like biases, right? Or like things that, because it really is just throwing back things that we put in at first scale, right? Unless you train it. So it's not a them versus us, it's an us, right? It's a collective. It's still in a very experimental stage. There are still guardrails that are being defined. And what's going to be your part in it? Get curious. Because really, when we talk about technology waves, they are the fabric of society. So every technology can have an impact in the fabric of society, right? And so when we look at it, from this standpoint, what do I mean by it? Let me share with you. I'm actually speaking from literally a technology can change the fabric, because it was in 1794 when James Hargreaves used the first spinning jenny. Before the spinning jenny, we could see that, there was an economy where there was the, mostly women, from home, they were generating one thread at a time. But then all of a sudden there is this gap where they needed more to produce more. But then came the innovation that is like James Hargreaves. Now you can do 8 spinnings at a time, right? So the spinning jenny could spin 8 threads at once. And as a result, it meant the work of 8 people. So do you think everybody loved it? No. Suddenly people rioted and they destroyed the machines. They would break into it. They thought it would take out their livelihoods. So in an interesting way, does that sound familiar? Right? We have seen it also. I love reading And one of them is about Alexander Graham Bell. I have here, the reluctant genius. And one of the things that really caught my attention is that when the telephone was invented, some countries were banning it, and they were fearful of, how can you talk to a machine? So we're there again. So fear is a natural process, is what I mean. And we can see how the technologies can also change, the dynamic of a society. So, for example, when we had in the past, anything that was a secretarial job, doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that it's disappeared. It actually evolved, right? Like the administrative roles just kept expanding with the insertion of a computer. And nowadays, you probably don't even need it. With AI, that's going away. Note taking can be automated as well. Let's not talk about mail, especially those here in Canada. We know what that means, right? But it's like mail, and what is also replaced by email. The ATMs versus the teller. It doesn't mean that the teller lost its relevance. It actually elevated to be more of a client service, right? As opposed to being a cash counter, in basically. And so everything is about this balance of the employee and the customer, the convenience and the employee. How are we going to keep harnessing that? And we also see it, in the checkout counters at the grocery stores, right? Like in this case, you see the picture, and there's like already there three employees replaced by machines, right? So it really is about how are we going to create this balance between the human and the technology. All right. So a little bit of history here, because it is important to know what goes back. I promise you, I'm not going to really bore you here, but just some interesting things. The point is that AI is not something new, right? When you think about in AI, you have these different touch points that, when talk about technology all the way from the 19th century, Ada Lovelace, so a woman, yes, the first computer programmer, the first person who said, it's like, I think actually we can train machines, and then we can go to the term, the artificial intelligence was actually born in the 50s. And you start, there are different tests happening. You can see that there's a trial and error, stage as well. The first attempts to AI were really more like an if-then formula, right? So it was more like a logical, with predetermined, but it really didn't necessarily think. But one of the big things about artificial intelligence, the big question is, can machines think? Can you train machines to think like humans? And one of the first indicators of it was in 2016 when AlphaGo defeats the world champion in Go. And this is where I was saying I remember that moment, and talking to the tech teams, right, and the company I was in, what that meant. So it was basically, it's like, can the machine defeat the human brain? But now you have the ChatGPT. When you have, there's generative AI started in these models, but really it's not until 2022 when ChatGPT starts now this democratization, right? This kind of, and there's an entire background, that's another session. But it really, what does this mean? Is that now it's available to everyone, but we still are in experimentation. And we're still figuring out, what does this mean to the human experience? There's been an accelerated adoption. You can see that, for example, it took 50 years for the telephone to be adopted by 50 million users, right? It was about 5 years, for those to adopt the internet. And I remember that it actually was 7 years for the internet. When you think about TikTok, for example, it was 9 months. Guess how long it took for 50 million users to adopt ChatGPT. 2 months. And it continues to explore. So the key thing is adapt and adopt. How fast are we going to move? All right. And what this happens is, let's talk about current state. The World Economic Forum is predicting that 97 million jobs will be displaced as a result of the AI economy and the green economy. So all of these tech trends, but mostly, through AI by 2030. And then on the flip side, there'll be 170 million new jobs created by 2030. Think about that. What side of the coin will you be on, right? Which one are you going to participate? Definitely job creation. This takes reimagining it. And when you think about your roles, one of the things that is anticipated, MIT's article anticipates that any decision that can be turned into an algorithm, can replace the human. So in this case, it's about elevating your role and identifying, if you know that this part of your job is going to be replaced with it, or can be replaced with an algorithm, then what does that leave room for you to do more of? When we're thinking about things that will be automated, like, I mentioned I've come from the research world, so business analysts, creating dashboards, all of those things become more irrelevant as opposed to what's the insight behind it. When you think about the diagnosis, right, in the medical field or in healthcare, when you think about media production and creation, when you think about how we learn and how we teach, these roles are evolving once again, right? So it's really more about, does this leave more room for the human to elevate the experience, to elevate what it is going to be value-driven skills? And once again, one of the things that is becoming the most appetizing aspects, in skills, one of the most attractive skills is those who are complementary to prediction, because the machine can do the prediction, the machine can think for us, it can suggest things. But let me give you an example. When I drive, I have a self-driving car, right? Or I have an e-car vehicle. And I practically got this car for one thing. I wanted to delegate parallel parking. It does it much better than me, and it releases my stress. It doesn't mean that I can't park by myself. I'm actually really good at parallel parking, but I don't need to do that anymore, right? So parallel parking might have been, I'm really good at spreadsheets, or I'm really good at, doing my my designing my presentations or something. But can I delegate this so it gives me more time to be with you, right? These kind of situations, to actually be in human connection, to actually then think, what is the value that I can give? The other aspect of it is that AI can be really good at telling you and directing you, based on the information that it has, and is getting smarter and smarter collectively, and it can direct you just like a self-driving car can self-drive and guide you. But then all of a sudden, you have perspective. You know that there's going to be, that road is going to be closed because you read the news that there's a marathon going there, right? So you shift the course, or that you see ahead that there's an accident. And I've done that with my car. So all of a sudden I see it insisting going, and then you give it feedback and you go nope, I don't like that route, right? And so whatever the case is, that's the same dynamic with the machine and the human. And so, in other words, anything that is related to your judgment, what insight do you have about the people that surround you, the stakeholders that are involved in decision making, how are you going to use this information to then translate it and bring it to them in a way that matters, that helps the company grow, that helps people clarify. We have, heard the term, about slop work, I think it is. So it's basically, it's not just about producing more and more content. Who's going to sift through it, right? And so those are real opportunities. Now, one of the challenges is that as we are implementing these different technologies, we have seen articles that there's been a new research, right? So it's the state of the AI in business in 2025. So a study conducted by MIT, showed that roughly 95% of enterprise AI pilot programs deliver no measurable business impact. But the key here is that the issue isn't that the AI itself doesn't work. It really is about when organizations fail to integrate it into business workflows or to define value metrics. If we were thinking about this implementation of AI, like the traditional way that we implement software or digital transformations, you name it, right? Re-engineering, we've used so many terms. And this is really about more, simply put, it's like, how do you align it with the human processes? And there's a lot of chatter about this, but it's really about the technology isn't failing. The human organization side, maybe, right? And this is where we need to understand that how do we learn how to avoid that 95% and aim to be the 5% that succeed in it. So this is where I want to bring in this concept of the 4X method, because the reality is that if you put the technology first, it is set to fail. It is important to understand that when we're implementing technology, there are these different aspects that involve, the human interaction. And in the 4X method, there are 4 key pillars to it that over the years, I have found when you align these 4 with the technology, right, with the processes and with your data, you have a winning equation. The first one is the employee experience. The customer experience, the second one, your brand and your product experience. They are all interdependent and interconnected in it. If you start by aligning these 4 experiences and designing it as an experience, designing your business as an experience, you move away from silos, from operating in team silos. I mean, I've been there before, when I was in the research world and different departments would come and ask me for the same information. I would say, well, aren't you talking to each other, right? And so this is the revelation and how this 4X method came to be. But when you start aligning, not just goals, but aligning the data, aligning the technologies, the integration of technologies, the flow of information, then you don't say, hey, AI is a topic for the CTO or the CIO and their team. It's not living in a basement somewhere in the organization. AI implementation is actually a function that involves the entire organization. How do we design it with that in mind? So we're talking about our CX friends, the EX, employee experience, our marketing teams, the product team, so our UXers here, whoop, whoop, it's basically everyone that is involved in creating experiences for your customer needs to be involved. And human resources, you might be thinking right now, is kind of like, hey, I just manage the people or I just manage this. It's like, it's more than that. You know that there's organizational changes happening here, right? We've seen how AI is being looked at if a role, there are companies actually asking for proof that a role cannot be replaced by AI before hiring. But that's where you can pause and go like, But is it really just task-driven, or what's the influence in all of these other variables? Right? It's a very meticulous process, but it requires a mindset shift that is not about task for human. I'll let you reflect on that for a moment. So when you have these silos, of course, you also have to look at the engine behind it. How are you going to design these 4 silos, right? And of course, there's operations all around it. There's all of the compliance pieces, right? Your policies. There are your processes, right? There is your data, right? And your systems, right? Many times, what I have found is that you already have so much technology working, but you probably have even like a proliferation of technology that is causing friction in the experiences, causing friction in your AI implementation. You need to look at also that back end with a careful lens. So designing, what happens this engine that actually propels the experience, right? We're talking about the people at the top. Then we have everything that is research and data, processes and analysis, and all of the systems in the equation. These create your growth engine as well. Okay, so I ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question here, which is, how do you relate to AI in your organization? Do you see it as a technology, as a tool? Some people I've asked them, it's like they think of it as a human or data. The way that you relate to your AI has an impact in how successful your organization is going to be in actually leveraging it, in leveraging the power of AI and the fast adoption both from your customers and your employees. Let me give you some examples here. And now we're going to put the 4X method into action. This is really about how do you go back to starting by the human experience, not starting by the technology, designing by that technology. How do you make it so that it's all encompassing, so that it involves all areas in your company? What it means is that you go back to looking at the customer experience and the employee experience. But let me look at this. Let me share this with you. I'm sorry, I get really excited here. So it's like nothing is scripted. As you can see here, it's like I am really excited to share this because the first thing is, here's a realization. Traditionally, you might be looking at AI as a tool implementation or as a system implementation, and you might be delegating this to your technologies team. So your CTO is responsible for it, and then let's forget about it, right? Like they're working on it. In this case, what happens is that you're looking at from a service blueprinting format, right? So what this means is that you're actually going back and starting with the customer experience and aligning the employee experience is super important. And this is an incredible important part in the 4X method, because it's like, this is where you're bringing in and understanding what does that human experience look like between customers and employees. But then if you're looking at AI as a tool, then you might just be looking at cutting a piece of it and saying, hey, this process or this, in this case, it's like, we're just going to replace this employee with an automation and a machine, just like the ATM or just like, a cash registry format. And then boom, we see that, and then it replaces the employee, right? Or you don't want to replace a customer perhaps, right? But it's more of like, instead of elevating the experience, all you're doing is replacing something for something else, right? And it's like, but you're not really making an impact. If anything, you might even making a negative impact because you lose all of that knowledge that might be happening. Mind you, if there is a situation, that might work when you need to reorganize the organization. When you have a reorganization, then this is one way that you might be looking at it, right? However, I'm going to challenge this one. When you think of AI not as a tool, but as an experience, you can start identifying connections. Then AI is a stakeholder. It's not a tool. It's not a system. You actually start thinking about, for example, let's suppose, from the customer standpoint, what do we do when we need to talk to our bank or a government agency, right? What's the first thing that you go and it's like, oh, they're going to ask me to validate, I need to remember my password, my PIN, etc. But then AI as a stakeholder maybe that is like, hey, here's an opportunity. That is a minimal task that doesn't provide necessary value. It consumes time from the employee, it consumes time from the customer, and it actually causes friction. How many times do we actually get frustrated because it's like, can we get on with it? I have a meeting coming and I need to solve this problem. And I don't want to be asking 10 questions, answering 10 questions about my validation. So you get the point, right? Perfect segue for voice recognition, right? So when we're thinking about these different experiences, you can think about security, for example. So one of, I'm an investor in an AI founded company that is all about becoming an agent to help women navigate in the perimenopause and menopause journey. And it really is about how can you elevate that with metrics, collecting your biometrics and telling you, with your wearables, right? And collecting that information so that you can actually learn more and have more power when you're talking to your doctors, for example. That's elevating and using AI as a power tool, right? And when we come about with security, as I was mentioning, there's organizations that are using video cameras, right? So video AI, that is another form of data as well, that then can identify this dynamic between employees and customers and detect, or predict if there's going to be robbery or if the employee, especially, for employees who work alone, or work remotely, being able to identify if they're in danger as well, right? So you can have sensors. So there's so many ways that we can solve these huge problems. So I encourage you to think about AI as an experience, as a human experience that serves the customer, not necessarily just as a tool. Now, what happens with the other 2X? It also plays a role in it, right? So these variables, you can keep comparing it and putting them, aligning what does your brand experience and your product experience, how are those two aligning? So when you map, in your journey maps, or when we're mapping our journey maps, the different variations of it is that now you're looking from a lens of the customer, the employee, now the brand, right? What is the impact on the brand in your brand metrics, in your brand perception? For those who are using net promoter scores as a metric, right? How are you going to continue to evolve this? And then you have your product as well. Where are those opportunities that your product can be enhanced and elevated to increase your brand loyalty, to increase your customer retention, to increase, the those referrals, right? That's what the net promoter score is all about, And there's a ton of reference as well that actually AI is now seen as the go-to person for recommendations on different brands. So exploring is I would just go and check, it's like, hey, your favorite generative pre-trained transformer, your favorite GPT, looking at what is, tell me about my brand. Which brands would you recommend? Or tell me about your industry. So just really looking at it neutrally and getting informed by it as well. So do your research. and staying in tune, so you can see how your marketing team can actually become more, and your research team can become more aligned and more of a predictive, more like anticipating, as opposed to just living in the moment and delivering task over task. It's like, how can you turn your teams into strategic thinkers? That's the power of AI. And then when it comes to products, it's the same thing, right? That is really about what are those opportunities where you can optimize and use the data to tell you more about the success or the failure of the likelihood of your products as well, or when are they being used or not used as well. All right. So we can talk about this forever, but I am going to conclude with, today what we touched on is we have two things, we talked about the two things in common that companies have, that every organization has. Can you add them to the chat here? And the winner, we're going to do a draw, and whoever gets it right, we're going to send you a copy of the 4X Method book. So put them in the chat. You can, let's engage here. So two things in common that every organization has. And those are people and data. You can design your business as, you got it? The word is experience. And then treat AI as an experience. So with that, I am going to, first of all, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And if you want more, of course, we'll be doing a VIP session on Friday. Denise is going to share more about how you can join us too and what we have prepared. Tune in, stay here with us, because we also have our next speaker that Denise is going to introduce, and you don't want to miss her. So I am excited to have you here. With gratitude. I'm Cory Davison. Let's connect.
Awesome. That was so good. So good, Cory. I think I have at least a page and a half of notes, like at least a page and a half of notes. So good. So listen, everybody, again, the chat is open. We want to hear about Sanjita. Thank you so much. Great talk, Sanjita. Tracy, thank you. Everyone who is commenting. I see you on LinkedIn. I see you on YouTube. I'm watching, and so much engagement. So thank you, everyone, for that. So what we're going to do, Cory, really quickly, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Listen, this doesn't mean you get up and you go to the store or anything like that. Go grab your favorite morning beverage. Come on back, because we have another dynamic speaker that will be joining us in a minute. So what I'm going to do, Cory, is I'm going to put up a 10-minute timer. That way it'll take us out, and then I will introduce our next amazing speaker. All right? With that being said, here we go. Let's get it. Let's go. Oops, my bad. Let's see if it's going to work. Maybe not. Well, we love technology. So what we're going to do is I'm going to remove that, because it worked before. I'm going to remove that, but we're going to go on just a quick 10-minute break. And what I'll do is just add to the stage this one, just to bring us back. So you'll hear my voice in about 10 minutes. See if I can get that timer to work for you. But we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Get the other speaker ready, and they'll be ready to rock and roll.
any business, even in B2B, we are delivering an experience. Hi, I'm Cory Davison. I am the founder of 4Experience and the author of the 4X Method. I created the 4X Method out of my own experience in living in different silos, which serves me as a platform to conduct my research and understand that each one of their silos wants to service the customer, but everyone is doing it differently. So that is why I created the 4X Method, to help you bridge those silos, the customer, the employee, the brand, and the product experience, so you can deliver a cohesive experience and grow your company.
The 4X method is exactly what she lives and breathes, and that's what she's written about in the book. And it's really great to see it come together to eliminate, silos in an organization, work with teams to become aligned and really aligned around all the 4 key pieces in the 4X method.
One of the things I really enjoy about Cory is how focused she is on creating amazing experiences, whether that's through technology introduction or just simply through organizational development, and the ability for teams to come together in new ways and break down those silos that go in between teams. And her method is excellent at being able to connect those together.
I highly recommend this book to anyone in leadership roles who's trying to align teams. Whether you're product manager, design leader, or marketing director, any C-suite executive.
I love Cory's energy. She brings it to everything that she does. She always knows to keep the customer front and center, and she just brings this energy to every room she's in that brings people together and lets us have fun while we work.
No company that couldn't benefit from taking on this entire way of thinking, right? When you blend your product, your customer, your employee, and your brand and build an entire experience around it, I mean, who couldn't benefit from that?
To learn more about how to bring the 4X Method into your organization, go to the4xmethod.com, and I can support you in the implementation of the 4X Method. It's time to bring the human back to the center of your business. And the 4X Method is your experience equation to do exactly that, to bridge the human experience and your technology to work and grow your company.
Congratulations to Cory. Cory!
Thank you.
Welcome back. If I had $5 for every time I was muted when I shouldn't be, I would probably be rich. But welcome back, everyone. We are super excited to have you back. I hope you have grabbed your morning beverage of choice. You're back from your break. You got a quick little snack. Cory did an amazing job talking us through how to make AI more human. So excited. Cory, you did an amazing job. But listen, we are not done yet, y'all. We have one more dynamic speaker for today, who is going to take us on a whole nother journey in terms of AI and what that means for us. But before I get to our next speaker, I want to make sure you remember, now is the time. If you have not leveled up to VIP yet, it is not too late. We want to see you in the VIP room. For those who know you need an up-level experience for anything that you do, now is your time. Click the link on the screen. Get your QR code. Join us. Make sure you look in the chat. The link will be posted there as well. Also, if you have questions, you got questions from what Cory talked about or what our next speaker, Margaret, is going to be talking about, make sure you submit your questions. We want to know. Put them in the chat. You're more than welcome to engage in the chat. But also, if you want to think a little bit more, you want to dig a little bit deeper into your question, now is the time to actually ask your question so that we can answer them directly from our amazing panel of speakers on Friday with Cory as she takes us on a journey. With that being said, I want to make sure that we are ready to rock and roll. We have our next speaker getting ready to come up to the stage. I'm super excited. I have just met Margaret really recently, and I feel like we've known each other since forever. She is an amazing person. Margaret Glover is and has been exploring the intersection of product and AI since before ChatGPT was a twinkle in OpenAI's eye. I love that. Her first exposure came at Point, where she contributed to early AI research and peer-reviewed studies on intelligent systems. Later, at the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, say that 5 times, she worked alongside leading researchers and companies to spot low-hanging fruit machine learning opportunities, taught the Machine Learning 101 workshop, and presented at events across Alberta's tech ecosystem. A certified product manager for AI systems, Margaret now helps teams design and build products that use AI responsibly and effectively. Let me not make sure I miss that. To create better user experience and smarter business outcomes. She has authored AI in the Wild, a practical course for Inception U that demystifies AI for business leaders. As founder of Product Better, she brings a mix of curiosity, pragmatism, and a few great stories about what AI really means for your career. Without further ado, I would love to bring to the stage our next speaker, the awesome and amazing Margaret Glover. Hey, Margaret.
Hi, Denise. How's it going?
Are you excited about today? Stop.
I sure am. I am really excited. How about you?
Awesome. I'm so excited. And so much energy. So much has been going on in the chat, behind the scenes. A lot have just been tapping in. Great talk, great talk. So you have an energized group that's ready
Perfect.
to be on this journey with you, Margaret. So we're super excited. As soon as you're finished, I'll bring Cory back up with you so you all can just have a small little dialogue. But without further ado, I present you to the world because they're all watching.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. All right. Have fun.
Thanks, Denise. Hey, everybody. How is everyone doing today? I'm so happy to see you all here. I do see a few familiar faces in the room. Thank you for being here. And you know who you are. No heckling, please. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Margaret Glover. And as Denise said, I'm the founder of Product Better, where I used my 25 years of experience scaling startups to help my clients design products that their customers love. I will skip those 2 points because Denise already talked about them. I do work now with a company called CropMind. They're an ag tech startup, and they are helping growers understand how AI changes how we work, not just what we make. So today we're going to talk about product and AI and how to design better for better outcomes. So how do we work with AI in a way that makes our products and ourselves a little bit smarter? So before we dive in, I just want to take you through kind of a day in the life of me as a fractional product officer. Most of my clients are early stage companies, but the process that I'm going to talk to you about today works just as well for established organizations who are exploring new verticals or trying to scale what's already working. When I do start a project, I always begin with customer discovery. And you heard Cory talk about that a little bit. Cory and I are very aligned on the 4X method and what works. So I begin with the customer every single time. When I say customer discovery, I mean genuine discovery. I ask big, open-ended questions about the problems that people are facing. I don't pitch ideas. I don't lead them towards solutions. My job is to stay completely neutral and listen for what's really getting in their way. The pain points that don't have a good solution yet, or where existing tools just aren't efficient. Once I've done those interviews, which I always record, I bring AI into the mix. I use it to transcribe those conversations. And again, you heard Cory talk a little bit about that. Then I load those transcripts into ChatGPT, which happens to be my favorite LLM of choice for this type of work. And ChatGPT, I ask it to help me find the common themes and any patterns from the people that I've interviewed. From there, I map those insights against my client's capabilities to see where the opportunities really are. And I'm going to come back to this with some examples a little bit later. Sometimes, if the direction is really clear from those early interviews, and sometimes it happens, which is awesome, I'll use Claude, which is another LLM, to build a quick prototype. So I'll give it all of the things that the customers have shared around their pain points and specific types of features or functionality that might help them with those types of things, or even just big guiding directions around how they want to go. So I'll pop that into Claude and I'll build a rough prototype. It's been the fastest and most effective way for me to communicate with my dev team, so that they get aligned very quickly and they're able to surface questions very quickly, because it's a very iterative and interactive collaborative process. And then it's all about iteration from there. As we build, we test, we learn, I repeat this process, continuously refining the product with both customer feedback and AI support. Again, we'll get into this a little bit later. When new features or needs emerge, I'll often use AI to structure my stream of consciousness thoughts, because I'll just type and type and type and type and type into, again, ChatGPT normally, and I'll have it produce a draft product requirements document. And so that really is a scope document that I can pass on to the tech team so that they know what's in my head, what the requirements are that are coming from the customers, so that they have an idea of where to design. So I'm not telling them how to design it. I'm telling them kind of what the goal is with this document. And I will say I use ChatGPT for research. It's become my first stop. So whether that's sizing up competitors or understanding emerging tech trends, finding credible sources to validate an idea, I found it to be an incredible tool for acceleration. So we're going to come back to this: being critical, thinking critically, confirming the facts. So that's how I use AI, not to replace the work, but to make the process faster, clearer, and more human-centered. So as we move through today's challenge, I'm going to get you to keep 3 principles top of mind. The first one is be curious and stay open to different ways of thinking. AIs are prediction machines, and sometimes the replies you receive might challenge the way you think, especially if you ask it to. I'm actually going to get you to try something really quickly here. If everybody can pop open your favorite LLM, whatever it is, I'll give you a second to do that. Once you've done that, ask it to tell you about you. It'll think for a few seconds and it'll come back with some stuff. And it's going to be very lovely and flowery and going to tell you all of the things about you that makes you great. Now that you've done that, ask it to give you the unvarnished truth about you. How does that differ? How do your answers change? I know I did this exercise a little earlier today. It's been a while since I've done it. Some of it, as though I'm actually talking to my therapist when I go through and read what it has to say. So the number two principle to keep in mind is, again, remembering that AI is a prediction machine, which means it's fallible. Ask it questions, ask for citations, ask again. I heard a really interesting thing on the radio earlier today, talking about scientific discovery and how in scientific discovery, repeatability is paramount. AI hasn't gotten there yet. Again, it's a prediction machine. It is literally predicting the next word to come out if we're talking about an LLM. You can run the same query 14 million times in AI and never get the same answer. So again, repeatability is not something that is there yet. If something looks weird, check it out, okay? Ask questions. And don't be afraid to say to your AI, are you really sure about that? I do that a lot. And it will often come back and tell me, oh, no, I've missed something here. So it comes off looking very confident, but sometimes it's just making stuff up. Okay, this is a big one and something that I talk about a lot in my work and in the course that I teach. People or the person who use outputs from AI are responsible for what is shared externally. In Canada and the US, there are some legal proceedings happening for chatbots that provided incorrect information because they hadn't trained their model properly. A big one over the summer that got shared quite a bit was that the Chicago Sun-Times and the Philadelphia Inquirer both published a syndicated summer reading list. The problem was that of the 15 hottest books for summer reading, 10 of them were made up. The authors were real, but the books weren't. The titles were made up, the notes about the book were made up. Sadly, the freelance writer who wrote this piece used AI for that research, and they didn't fact check the result. Now, neither did the editors at the Chicago Sun-Times or the Philadelphia Inquirer or any other publication who actually put that information out. So that's a very low risk type of thing. But sometimes, you can see where things can go off the rails pretty quickly if AI provides the wrong information. So keep things human. Check assumptions. Do that all the time. I'm going to ask you one more question. Does everybody remember the earliest days of the internet? I read it on the internet days. So, somebody would read something and take it as fact because it was proclaimed on a website. This is where critical thinking comes in, and it's a massive part of staying human and in the loop of these things. Again, check your sources, check your citations, ask the AI, are you sure? Okay. Keep those 3 principles in mind. We're going to come back to them over and over and over again over the next little bit. Okay, now it's your turn. For the next 20-ish minutes, you're going to step into my world and act as an AI product strategist. So I have a challenge that I'm going to put to you, and I want you to use AI to explore it. I want you to use AI to critique what it gives you, to find the biases, the weirdnesses, and the gaps. And then I want you to refine it, keeping a human in the loop. So this is the same process I use whether I'm testing a new feature for CropMind or designing a curriculum with Inception U. So if you're here live, I'm going to get you to pop your thoughts, your ideas, and questions in the chat in real time. And if you're watching the recording, pause after each question and take note of your answers. Okay. Just going to give you a little, a lot of people tell me they don't know how to use an LLM. They don't know how to ask it questions. So in the old days of LLMs, as in a year ago, people talked about prompt engineering. And that was very kind of scripted. There was things called chunking, where you would give it little bits of information at a time. There was few shot prompting, where you would give it multiple different things as kind of guideposts and ask it to mimic what you had just given it. So there were a few different ways that you could actually do prompt engineering. I'm going to flip that idea on its head today, and I want you to start thinking about AI interaction design, okay? I want you to start thinking like a designer, not somebody who's just typing questions into your prompt. You are going to be asking questions, but you're going to think about it in a different way. So it's also not about tricking the system into giving you a perfect answer. It's about creating the right conversation. So as we go through this, I want you to ask yourself, what outcome do I actually want? What context should the AI know? What format is going to be useful? How am I going to judge whether the output aligns with my goals and my values? And what are the particular risks that might be introduced with what I'm asking? Okay. At Inception U, we use this mindset when we're helping teams build AI prototypes. It's not about getting AI to do the thing. It's about framing the thing so AI helps you think better. Okay, so this is our challenge today. How can AI help make workplace learning more human? If you're live, open up that LLM again and pop that prompt into the chat. How can AI help make workplace learning, more human? If you're watching later, pause the video and do the same. So when I asked, it returned 7 different questions. Now, this is without any context whatsoever. I just asked it, how might AI make workplace learning more human? And this is the answer that it gave me, or one of the answers, I should say. Conversational AI creates safe, judgment-free spaces to practice and reflect, from leadership coaching, simulations to soft skill role plays. It went on to clarify, learners can talk through scenarios, experiment with language, and receive feedback instantly, a practice ground that makes later human conversations richer and more authentic. And I don't know if any of you have ever done this. I'll do it if I'm feeling a little bit off, or I've written an email or something that feels a little like I read it and it feels a little too sharp. I'll actually put that into ChatGPT sometimes and say, just please soften this, or please make this more direct. And it will give me something then that I can work with. So as you read the output that you're receiving, look for both insight and assumption. So what insights is it giving you? What assumptions is it making? Where is it being smart? Where is it being naive? So for me, a couple of warning bells that went off when I read through this idea was about data privacy, data governance. Where will the company store this information? If they do, how can that be used for or against the employee at a later time? What if what if the employee asks questions of the AI that could lead to harm, whether to themselves personally or others? We've seen a few instances of this in the media over the last couple of months where people are becoming very attached to their AI and actually falling in love with it. So, what if the employee becomes too attached to the AI? So those are the kinds of things that we want to start thinking about, the guardrails that we want to put up as we're going through this exercise or any exercise. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is create a quick user persona. And for those who aren't sure what a user persona is, I have one that I'll show you here in a second. But a user persona is simply somebody who might face the challenge of the product that you're trying to build. Once you have your user persona, it's a good thing to ask, okay, who have you missed? What assumptions are you making? So I'm just going to pop up, and I know that this is very small, so it might be difficult to see. But essentially, we have Priya here. Priya is the Director of Learning and Development. She works in the technology sector. She's in her 40s. It goes through her background, what her goals are, what her motivations are. Like, why does she actually want to bring this type of tool to the company? So that's what a user persona would look like. And basically, the idea behind this is as you are building your product, asking your questions, designing the questions to ask when you actually go out and do those live customer interviews, you basically have a, again, a persona, for lack of a better word, that you can help guide the types of questions that you're asking. All good so far? Okay, so I've already said this. Ask your AI, who's missing? What assumptions is it making? So for the live group, go ahead and do that now. And async viewers, pause and note what maybe felt off. And again, so I've done this exercise and this is what it came back with. Okay, so it gave me several different user personas. It gave me an end user. It gave me a buyer. It gave me an executive sponsor. It also reminded me that I should talk to the technical team. It should prompt me to check with other members of the team, so those team members as their indirect contributors to the influence that they have. Coaches and trainers, right? How would this type of a tool actually impact them? How can they work alongside it? Privacy officer, again, what's that data governance policy that you have in place? And any external consultants that you might have. And these are the assumptions that it's making. I'm just going to give you a few minutes to read through the screen rather than me read it for you. There's a lot of information there. Okay, so you can see that it actually has made quite a few assumptions. Now we're going to move on to getting to those big broad questions. And we're going to diverge a little bit here, and then we're going to converge. So very much using the design learning principles to go through this exercise. So one of my mentors told me a long time ago that every single business or person has 100 problems that they're dealing with at any time. We want to find out what their top 3 are. If we're designing for their top 3, then the likelihood that we're building something sticky that they'll use, that they'll fall in love with, is way higher than if you're designing for number 4 through 97, right? So when I was doing customer interviews with winemakers in the Okanagan, I know my life is really, really hard. I get to sit around and talk to winemakers about artificial intelligence and drink wine at the same time, and I get paid. It's awesome. Anyway, when I was talking to them about their biggest challenges, every one of them said weather and climate. Now, obviously, there's nothing that my team and I can do about controlling the weather, although I wish I could sometimes make it a little bit warmer here in Calgary during the winter months. But what I can do and what my team can do is ingest different data points, like what's the upcoming weather forecast over the next 3 to 4 days? What's the current and previous temperature? What are moisture thresholds? Because one of the other things that the growers told me was a problem was managing disease and pests. And so weather obviously plays a large part in that. So I can have my team actually build out, as part of our AI tool, a prediction tool that says, hey, with this upcoming forecast, with the weather being really hot and then really rainy, this is probably a really prime time for powdery mildew to appear in the vineyards. And we don't want that, right? So we can't solve weather, but we can solve their next biggest challenge, which is related to weather. Pro tip, this is really hard sometimes, but when you're doing customer discovery, listen 80 to 90% of the time and talk the rest, right? You really want to be asking the questions. And if you feel like somebody's really on a thread that you want to kind of pull on a little bit, then the next best thing to do is say, oh, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Can you dive into that a little bit? That's really interesting. Tell me why. So all of a sudden, you're not talking a lot, but you're eliciting a lot of information from your customers. Okay. So you've built your user persona, I hope. Did I ask you to build your user persona? I hope I did. If you haven't, quickly build your user persona around one of the ideas that came back in your first prompt, and you're going to synthesize what you've learned, whether it's the questions that you've just asked, whether it's any additional information that the LLM has come back to you with, because they will often provide you with far more information than what you've actually asked for. So once you've done that, I'm going to get you to tell your AI, based on all of the information that we've just discovered, give me 3 potential solutions. Okay, so this is the wild ideas phase. There's no judgment yet. don't worry about what comes back, okay? Take a look for what seems off, what seems surprisingly smart, what feels like it completely missed the mark. For one question that I had asked on a different type of opportunity was, how do I reduce waste in a winery? My LLM suggested drones with thermal sensors. Okay, that's terrific. But if that drone relies on AI or on Wi-Fi, sorry, then that's not going to be a usable suggestion because half of the vineyards are remote. They don't have Wi-Fi or not Wi-Fi that's actually any, reliable. So context really matters. So if you're up for it, why don't you drop your best or weirdest idea in chat? And I'll take a look at it in a little bit. Okay. So again, I've gone through this exercise and then I asked it, what are the risks that are associated with my product? Who's being left behind? Who's being forgotten? So the digital divide, obviously, I just mentioned that from a technology accessibility perspective, but we also have to consider people who are lower income or global teams who don't have the same type of technology around the world. They also might not be extremely comfortable using AI tools or even technology tools. There's absolutely cultural bias that comes in to feedback models, and we see this over and over and over again. I can't remember the percentage right off, but most of the data, the training data that is out there is based on, when it comes to humans, is based on white men in their, between their 20s and 40s. And so a lot of the training models that we use to train are getting one very select group of people that it's kind of referring to or accessing information for. For coaches and facilitators is, this idea of bringing in a tool that a human can talk to. Will that actually replace jobs? That's something that we need to be aware of. And how do we actually, align the human with the role? How can they complement one another? All right, so we're going to sanity check the output a little bit. We've done this a little bit here, but I want you to start to think through this idea. Every single idea has unintended consequences. If you think about fire, fire can be used to warm or it can be used to burn something down. A sharp object can be used to cut our food, cut our way through shrubs and bushes and everything if you're in the outdoors, but it can also be used to harm. So AI is no different, right? Every single thing has unintended consequences. So when you're thinking about your ideas, your product ideas, think about who could be left out. Who could be harmed if we use this as is? Who gets excluded or can't access it? whose communication style might be misread or penalized. I'm ADHD and I'm on the autism spectrum, and so I can be very blunt sometimes, not even really intending to or being aware of it, but that's very often misread and can be definitely misread by AI. If we're doing something like an AI tool where human learning is being complemented by an AI tool that they can talk to, who might feel watched instead of supported? Who could lose work, influence, or trust? Again, talk about those counselors or therapists. What if there's a data leak, a data breach, and something that employees are struggling with gets leaked out? And on that, who controls the data and who's accountable if it's misused? So if the answer as you're designing your product is, if the answer to who benefits isn't everyone as you're designing your product, keep designing, right? You'll find ways around it. You'll find ways to kind of button those things up. We can't be all things to all people all the time. That's absolutely true. But there is absolutely no reason why with AI we can't use AI to actually kind of plug some of those holes that might otherwise have been there. So we looked at bias a few times now, but I want you to rework your best idea to that prompt. And I want you to think about how you would build humans in the loop. What checkpoints do we need? Where do we need to intervene? What would you verify or validate before acting? How could you use AI responsibly to extend, not replace judgment, right? Let's go back to those editors and the feature writer at the Chicago Sun-Times and Philadelphia Inquirer. How could human intervention have completely changed the outcome there? So when I asked my question about, how could AI make workplace learning more human, and it gave me this answer. When I looked at it, a couple of the things that I flagged where I would probably insert human intervention is I would look at the training data. I would try to ensure that it actually did represent all possible cultures, and that can take some work. But there are data sets that are being created out there that have more multicultural complexity to it than kind of what's traditionally been available. And again, I would want my development team to absolutely be able to tell me how that AI worked. So a lot of people talk about the black box of AI, that we don't actually know how AI works, but we do know how AI works. The developers know how they've trained it. So I would absolutely look to find out, what are they doing to build in guardrails around that data privacy, the data governance piece, and how that's being upheld throughout the product design process. So thinking about what you've learned over the last little bit here, what's one thing that you'll take away from today? Take a moment to think about your own work and think about where you'll build a human in the loop moment when you're using AI. Maybe it's in how you brainstorm, maybe it's in how you make decisions or design your next process. The one thing I hope you're taking away from today is that when we're designing products, AI doesn't make us less human unless we let it, right? Used well, it helps us be more thoughtful, more creative, and more connected. This is how you can get in touch with me. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for hanging around and chatting with me this afternoon.
Hey, bravo. I'm like clapping before I go ahead and say it. But hey, let's give a clap.
Cory.
I am like absolutely listening, following. I hope you are too. Anyone who's watching this, Margaret, you like really like, like those home runs. I'm gonna, just really like reminds me of the Blue Jays right now.
Except they lost.
No, but no. I mean, let's give credit, right, where it deserves. It's like they got there and stuff. Well, but it's absolutely. Thank you. I love the everything that you have shared. So we would
I hope
love
everybody was able to follow along.
Yeah. No, and it's like interesting because when you're following along, I wanted to just like reflect a little bit on it before we wrap up. We have a few minutes and then we'll bring Denise here. But first of all, just like basically everyone, we're wrapping up our day 1, but you stay tuned. We have day 2 and day 3 coming next. And please, let's give it to Margaret. And one of the things that, as you were going through this, that made me think about is, I mean, I have lots of notes here too, but it's about that mindful process. It makes me think about, we both come from a research background, right? So it's in this mindful process that is not everything is an instant gratification. However, we are moving so fast, like things in the pressure is moving so fast into producing results faster, throwing it, there's not a pause process. And one of the things that comes out is, what are we used to as humans? When you think about internet searches, right? And then relying and the trust that's placed on what comes out. But what I learned from what you were saying, or really what it reminded me of, is that when you are using it, in a work setting or in a mindful setting, is in any setting, right? Is really to pause, reflect, iterate, question, sleep on it. Because if we connect the two messages, it's like business is emotional, right? And business is about data too. So if you can harness the data and the emotions together and reflect and pause with decision making, I mean, we're putting a bow on this one, Margaret.
Yeah.
Message too.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that very follow along thoughtful process.
You're welcome.
So for our audience here, for those who are watching, listening, those who are live, share your comments. Yeah, and any reflection.
Happy to take any questions.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody has any.
Yeah. So what do we have here? We have lots of thank yous.
So lots of thank yous over in the YouTube channel. Hello, ladies. It's me again.
Hi.
Over on the YouTube channel, someone asked the question, does this, what you shared today, and even Cory, you could answer this as well, what you both have shared today, does it matter what level of sort of employment they're at before they can use this and make it more human? If I'm at the entry level versus the C-suite level, like, does it matter? And if either of you can just elaborate on that a little bit, that'd be great.
That's a great question. So absolutely not is my answer. I think that anybody using AI, as long as you are being mindful, like Cory just mentioned, right? Be mindful about how you're using it. There are some guardrails that you need to put up. I've mentioned that a few times. When you're using AI, don't put, especially free models of AI, Don't put personal identifiable information in there. Don't put financial information in there. Don't put anything, if you're typing stuff in for a company, don't put anything in that is, potentially under NDA internally, anything that you wouldn't want your competitors to learn about you. So as long as you're kind of thinking about those types of things, I think really anybody can use AI to make them faster and better at what they do. Cory, anything?
No, those are great points, and we will be also diving into that risk and the cybersecurity tomorrow on Nelson Almanzar's session, so don't miss that. Just want to keep everyone following here too. But absolutely, it's like, doesn't matter what cubicle or what square in the Zoom box or in the Teams call you sit on, or what corner office. No, I agree with Margaret. It's basically, like tying it back to what I shared, is that it's an us, right? AI is an us. Everything that we actually are producing through it is feeding it, is training it collectively. So we also have to be mindful consumers, right, in this case, and then also being aware of like the rules that apply in your organization don't change, right? Those agreements that you made about confidentiality, about sharing, you almost think about everything you're putting out there is out to the world, right? It's training, and it can be interpreted in different ways. I mean, down the road, even lawsuits or something like that. So just being mindful of that. However, when it comes to decision making and this mindful process, that we're talking about, iterating, asking why, pausing before we proceed, applies in anything, single aspect that you do, personally, as an employee, as a decision maker. It actually calls for even pausing even more than what we had to before in making decisions, right? So leadership training is very important for those who are, in the leadership executive roles or coaching those executive roles. It's really about pausing, right, and iterating.
Yeah, absolutely. Question everything.
Great. I'm getting a thank you for that response in the chat. Tracy, I see you. Thank you for joining. Ladies, there are several comments of great discussion. Can't wait to tap in till tomorrow. This is so good. So thank you both for everything that you have shared with us on today. We're getting ready to end this stream. So congratulations again. We did it. Day 1 is under the belt. We did it. 2 powerhouses. Whoop, whoop. In the house today. So Cory, Margaret, again, thank you so much for just pouring out your knowledge to everyone, right? I'm sure there were lots of notes being taken and everything. So we're excited. Again, tomorrow, everyone, day two. You don't want to miss this. We're going to tap into cybersecurity. Again, capping on what Cory and Margaret just shared about your personal data and what to share, what not to share. Pretty much nothing when it comes to your personal data, but also a dynamic conversation between Peter and Cory as they do some dialogue amongst each other. So day 2, don't forget it. Level up to VIP, check your emails, check your chats, check everything, because I'm making some noise for the AI Summit 2025. Without further ado, Cory, Margaret, again, thank you for pouring out. We are so excited. Again, day 2 kicks off on tomorrow. We're super excited. Be there or be square. Cory, anything else from you before we close out?
Don't forget your notepad. You're going to want to take notes in here. But also, what are you waiting for? Join the VIP. You get more if you want to see the recordings. If you're just joining in right now, and I know everybody's busy, but we have designed it so that everybody can join and not miss a beat. So what are you waiting for? Join us and see you tomorrow.
All right, everyone. Bye. Everyone. Back to your regularly scheduled programs. Bye.